grimacing at the chill of the morning. He had half risen beyond the low timber beam when the rumbling of cartwheels and the sharp sounds of an iron-shod team clattering over the stones reached his ears. He dropped into a low crouch and backed himself under the shadow of the ramshackle wattle and daub house that had checked his progress. Whoever it was, he thought, they were coming fast. He sat there and laughed ruefully for a moment. What a morning this had turned out to be, and what a mess, what a bloody mess, and for no good reason. This town was valuable, he would not argue that, but it was a fool move to take it. Whoever did this would have legions of spears on them from the larger garrisons downriver and upriver, and be trapped in a matter of days and driven to the coast. Off the cliffs and into the sea, or on the point of a spear, death waited for them. He could count offhand 3 times in recent memory when similar fates had befallen some jumped-up bandit or petty warlord. But never at a town like Kingsbridge. It was small and hard to defend, but it was of strategic value. He had been traveling quite a bit these last few months, and had neither seen sign nor heard word of any large army on the march, and he would have seen or heard something if this force outside the walls was more than a couple hundred strong. Hell, everyone would know. Although there was a tinge of unrest at any given time, threats were dealt with in short order. You could not hide a large force. They ate up the countryside like a plague of insects with their foraging. Then there was the inevitability of crime within the camp, and the crimes committed by the soldiers against the country folk who sought to protect their livestock or their daughters, even their sons, and the ropes, and the hanged men, and the butchery. The basest of men were sometimes conscripted into soldiery, and their basest passions seemed to blaze brighter as they moved further away from wherever it was they called home. Every dog is free when no master holds his leash, and men were difficult animals to control when they thought they had no one to answer to for their actions. How many soldiers had he hanged on his marches? How many deserters and miscreants had met their deaths by his decree? 109, he remembered. 109 men he had ordered killed. So few, considering the size of his forces, yet he remembered every one, at least by number. Hard decisions had to be made, and he had made them without remorse. Such was the life of a man of power, who held a command and many lives in the balance. But if that man was who he had been, then he was but a shadow of that man now. He was little more than a fugitive. He squinted into the smoky haze and thought he saw a flitter of movement, but then it was gone. There would have been grievances, and word would have traveled ahead faster than any army could have. There was something afoot here that he could not grasp, he thought, as he huddled in the waning shadows. He craned his neck as the horses grew louder and the large rolling cart came around the corner and into view. It skidded a bit as it made the turn, and the metal rims of the wheels struck sparks on the cobblestones. It was a jailer's cart, tall and square, with iron furniture girding its jostling bulk all the way around in several riveted bands that gave the cart a striped look in the half-light. The driver cracked his whip and urged the team on in a shrill voice dripping with fear. The road made a low dip and rose again, climbing past where he was concealed and turning as it spilled its way through the lower ward and toward the river. He could now see there was another figure atop the wagon, a furtive-looking youth, lying on the roof and pointing a crossbow behind him as the wagon bounced over the stones and began to make its way uphill. The exhausted horses slowed and were straining at the traces as the immense weight of the cart came to bear down on them, and the whip's crack and the fear in the driver's voice was making them panicked. The lead horses reared and threw their heads, slinging lather and snot to dapple the stones and buildings around them. The driver cursed as they slowed. The younger man with a crossbow was screaming for the driver to whip the horses up the hill, but it was no use. The team was done, and the 2 men had chosen poorly if they had chosen the jailer's cart for speed. It was the perfect spot for an ambush, he realized, and then he saw them coming and heard the men screaming for mercy as 6 riders made to ride them down. The 2